This is not the way I thought I would be starting off the Sundance Film Festival. Do with that information what you will. Hey everyone, this is D, Movieman, fellow cinephile, popcorn addict, and emerging film critic, coming to you with reliable recaps, reviews, and reactions. And today, of course, I'm coming to you all with yet another review, this time to officially kick off the Sundance Film Festival 2026. And I will be doing that by sharing my thoughts on the horror film Rock Springs. Written and directed by Vera Miao, and starring Kelly Marie Tran, Benedict Wong, Jimmy O Yang, and many more. Story-wise, the film is centered around a young girl grieving the loss of her father, who moves to the eponymous town of Rock Springs with her mother and grandmother. However, she and her family are soon forced to confront the town's carefully concealed past and the insidious secrets buried beneath the soil. Alright, so I'm going to start with the pros. And to start off, let me just say that Sundance is a festival I will always appreciate and have a sense of love and respect and even reverence for. It's been a journey. That journey includes the opportunity to see and visit the Sundance Film Festival. I believe it was in 2024, and it was a great experience. Getting back to the here and now, I have had the opportunity to watch some more films at Sundance. And Rock Springs is a film I was really excited for because it is part of the midnight category, and that's usually the horror films. And there have been some great ones to come out of it. You Won't Be Alone, Watcher, Hatching. I just think being in the midst of that genre, especially given that Sundance is an independent filmmaking collective, and kind of a platform for independent filmmaking, is something that really excites me to be able to see. So, with that being said, what I have to say really hit home with me was how the film really takes the concept behind its horror and adds so much emotional weight and emotional depth. Of course, we've seen stories like that where it's not just about the horror itself, but what the horror is representative of, what it's hiding, what it's concealing, and this film is also highlighting that. It is also tying in a very true life story within it, and I'm not going to spoil what that is, but I have to say the fact that it was taking an Asian American lens and highlighting that experience, with, of course, Asian characters at the forefront, that was already interesting enough. But the film goes a little bit deeper in that regard. There are these 3 chapters that the film lays out, so to speak. And let's just say there's a lot that you learn about Rock Springs and the legacy that it has left behind in its wake. And I was honestly not prepared for that. It's for a reason, and the film is not willing to shy away from that. And so I do appreciate the fact that we are not going to water down any aspect of history. I think the performances also help support that in general theme and that thematic weight of the story. We have Kelly Marie Tran, and I've said it time and time again, just seeing these actors and their journey and their performances post Disney and Star Wars, Kelly Marie Tran, her performance here is very poignant and very moving. I think Benedict Wong also, of course, this is him coming off of Weapons, but he also is giving a very gripping and moving performance. What their characters just have to contend with it's a lot. Very compelling, but very heartbreaking at the same time. And I wasn't really prepared for that, once again, but I think the film effectively handles all of that. I also think the cinematography is beautiful. There is a shot of the isolated home that the family has moved to, and all I will say is that it's a nighttime shot. You see a full moon and you see a puddle that is at the bottom of the screen, and the way the camera shifts and moves there, and then it also circles back around to that shot later, and it's the complete opposite. It's inverted, and I was like, I think I'm sold just based off of this alone. And then we also have, of course, a forest that seems to be withholding some secrets as well. And you see a character navigating the woods with a flashlight, and just the way the lights are bouncing off of the foliage and the trees and the leaves and all of that. It was very visually striking. And I really enjoyed that, and I thought it was impressive. I thought the sound design, I thought the score as well. The film makes use of the cello and the erhu, which is a Chinese instrument and one I enjoy very much. I have a lot of songs with that instrument on my playlist and have for years. And I just appreciated the way all these elements aesthetically and technically really came together to enhance this. I will lastly close this out by saying that there is a being that factors in here, and I really appreciated the practicality that was used there. It was not something I've seen before. The design was something very unique, and it also ties into the story in a very distinct way. And I appreciated how the film also made use of Chinese superstition and Chinese beliefs regarding the afterlife, which I've also read a lot of stories about, and I'm very familiar with that in a sense. So to see the film also take that on was really impressive and disturbing at the same time. And then lastly, I will say that the ending of this film really brought forth some emotions I didn't think I would be experiencing. You know, horror on its own is one thing. You know, there are the scares, there's the suspense, there's the tension, there's just kind of the dread and the unsettling feelings, but the tears, you know, or even just like the internal, you know, sadness and emotion thing and all of that can come forth watching a film that's supposed to be horror can sometimes be surprising. And I will say I wasn't really expecting it, but the film definitely goes out of its way to make you feel that emotional intensity, and I can absolutely say I felt it. All right, now I'm going to jump over to the cons. Not too many cons here. What I will say is that from a dialogue perspective, there are some interactions that the family has around the town that for me were a little too given certain reveals later on. I understand why that was there. I wanted to see a little bit more complexity as far as like understanding more about those characters and the way they thought. Maybe there wasn't enough time for that, but I would have liked to have seen more there. I also would have liked to have seen just a little bit more as far as the Chinese superstition piece, because I love when the film leaned into that, and I would have liked to have seen just a little bit more of the narrative and thematic connections to that, because it's there, but it was so compelling that I just wanted to see and learn more. So I think the film gives enough, you know, the foundation is there, but I still wanted just a little bit more and to understand like what caused what we see and how that played out in relation to the being that comes forth. It's clear, but I still wanted more because I did enjoy that aspect of the story. So I'm going to give Rock Springs a B-. Rock Springs is a film I went into completely blind. Didn't really know what I was getting outside of just something horror related. And I can definitely say that it's probably not quite as high as some of my other horror experiences, nor is it as low as a couple of the horror experiences I've had here as well. But it definitely falls in line with my appreciation of horror and how it can have so much dimension and thematic weight beyond just jump scares. Like there are a couple of moments like that here, but it has so much more to say in that regard. And I think that's what really allowed it to pack such a punch and for me to walk away feeling the impact of it overall. Because the film also deals with grief and loss, and it's also about finding ways to overcome that when it's the most difficult thing to do. And I understand that as well. So I appreciate everything the film had to say, and I appreciate, of course, Vera Miao for providing the Sundance audience, of which I am one, the chance to experience her debut. So, once again, this is D, Movieman, signing off, and I'll see you at the movies.